Hi everyone, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever since I've uploaded a video. I know, especially a book video. I'm getting back in the swing of things. I've been going through a really tough time lately, and I have just kind of started to get back into the swing of pouring myself into YouTube and working out and hanging out with friends. So hopefully from here on out I will be more consistent with it. Don't take me for word value at that, however, shit happens. Anyways, as you guys can see from the title of today's video, I am going to be sharing with you guys all the books that I read from January and March, because I have not done that yet with you guys. Some of these books I actually gave 5 stars to, some of them I didn't, some of them I had to read for school. They're pretty interesting, so I am very excited to share them with you guys. Before we get into today's video, I do want to thank today's sponsor of the video, which is, of course, Book of the Month. You guys know I love Book of the Month so much. And if you guys have no clue what Book of the Month is, it is basically a monthly subscription box where they give you a selection of books to pick from, and you can pick whichever one you want and they will send it to you. And this cute little box, like, it just says Book of the Month on it, and it's just so cute. They also send you bookmarks with it, which I have so many bookmarks from them and I use them like all the time. Anyways, if you guys are interested in signing up for Book of the Month, they are offering you guys to buy your first book for $9.99 when you use the code PICKMEUP. I'll have it down in the description box below so you guys can just head right over there and pick up a book. Any book that you want. Something new that Book of the Month is now doing is they are giving more than 5 selections so that you have more of a diversity of books to pick from. I'm going to share with you guys the selections that they have for this month really quickly. So the one that they sent me that's in this box is the Cartographers. The cover is like so freaking pretty. The next book that they sent me that I'm actually super excited to read is called The Book of Cold Cases. The next one they sent me is Unsinkable Greta James, which I love the colors on this. It's so pretty. The next book they sent me was Tell Me Everything. It is basically a story of a private investigation. So again, another, murder mystery book. We love those types of books. Next book that they sent us is The Verifiers, The Paris Apartments by Lucy Foley. She's a really well-known author, and this is a new release. And the last one that they sent me is Dating Dr. Dill. Of course, a love book, a romance book. We love our romance books here on this channel. Like I said, if you guys are interested in signing up for Book of the Month, you can use the code PICKMEUP to get your first book for $9.99. One of the awesome things about Book of the Month too is it's a subscription box where you don't have to pick a book every single month. You can skip any month that you want and you won't be charged. Anyways, let's get on into today's video, shall we? The first book that I read in January, I read The Killer Across the Table: Unlocking the Secrets of Serial Killers, Predators with the FBI's Original Mindhunter. This book was very hard to digest at some points, obviously, because it is talking about really profound serial killers and, going into great detail about the crimes that they committed and what they did to their victims. And I had to stop at multiple points reading this book because it was just so much to handle at once. But it was a really amazing book, and it was very interesting seeing how John Douglas and Mark, how they went about investigating all this kind of stuff and how they went about researching their, these serial killers' minds and stuff like that. Obviously, definitely recommend searching up the trigger warnings for any book that I recommend. Kind of just common sense, making sure that you can handle it before you start reading it. They talk about a crap ton of notorious serial killers like Charles Manson, Son of Sam, the BTK Strangler. I think I ended up giving this book a 5 stars just because it was so fascinating to me. The second book that I read in January is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I have a lot to say about this book, actually. First and foremost, I gave this book a 3-star read, not because I hated it. It was a good book. The storyline was cute. However, I was not a fan of the step-sibling romance. There are 2 different kinds of romance plot lines in this book. There is obviously the present-day one with Tate and Miles, and then there's the past one with Rachel and Miles. Rachel and Miles are the step-siblings, and I just became super uncomfortable with the whole idea about reading about a romance about step-siblings being in love. I get it, they were together before their parents got married, but they still continued it after they got married, and it's just really weird to me. I wasn't comfortable with it. There were also just some red flags in this book that I was just like, Miles, you not cool. You really not fucking cool. But it was a pretty fast read. It's cute, but I don't know, I'm just really not a fan of the step-sibling romance. It kind of ruined it for me, and I really like Colleen Hoover too. This is also not me dissing on Colleen Hoover. I better not get any freaking hate comments in the comments for this, but I just wasn't a big fan of this book. In all honesty, I feel like you could skip it. There are much better Colleen Hoover romance books than this one. I also didn't cry with this one, so I felt kind of disappointed. But the next book that I read is Bastard Out of Carolina. I had to read this for a class. I had to read this for my sexual violence against women and children class. It was basically this book about this girl who was growing up. She was kind of poor, and her whole family. Really, Luna? Really? You want to play with your toys right now. It was a very, very hard book to read just because of the content within it. It does talk about rape and sexual assault and domestic violence and abuse and stuff like that. So I definitely don't recommend reading it if, you know, you're kind of not too easy with reading that kind of stuff. I had to read it, however, for my class. It was very, very interesting, but it was also just super hard to stomach at some points. And I felt like towards the middle of it, it started talking a little bit about religion, and I felt like that part of the story didn't really have like a correlation to the whole story as a whole. But it was a good book. I did end up giving it a 2 stars. I ended up giving it 2 stars just because I hate being told to read books in school, and I usually end up disliking the books that I'm told to read in school. This just so happened to be one of them. The next book that I read the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, Good Girl, Bad Blood. I gave this book 4 stars. This was such a good book. It was such a good book, but I felt like it was lacking kind of a twist. Everyone said that they really, really liked this book. I loved the way that it was written and set up, how there was like parts of it like journal entries and like podcast entries and stuff like that. I thought that was amazing, and Holly Jackson seriously did an amazing job with writing this book. The audiobook to it is also amazing as well. I listened to the audiobook as I read this. Highly, highly, highly recommend the audiobooks for the series. It's just freaking phenomenal. I haven't finished the whole Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, but I'm just already gonna tell you it's gonna be one of my favorite series just because it's such an amazing series. It is so good, so well written, so well executed. Holly Jackson seriously outdid herself with this one, and it's probably one of my favorite series to date. So I definitely highly recommend this one. Just go read it, please go read it. The next book that I read A Stolen Life, a memoir by J.C. Dugard. Again, this was more of a true crime kind of survivor story. It talks a lot about very, very tough topics like rape, sexual assault, kidnapping. Basically, if you guys don't know the story of J.C. Dugard, first of all, I definitely recommend looking up the story of J.C. Dugard because she is it's phenomenal. She was captured for I think 18 years of her life. I also have her other book. It's called Freedom or something like that. I haven't read it yet, but it's just amazing. And I also had to kind of take a couple breaks in between reading that book too, just because the content in it was just so heavy and so heartbreaking to read about. But I think it's important to read because it opens your eyes to the stuff that does happen and what needs to change. I did give that book 4 stars. The next book that I read was Layla by Colleen Hoover. I thought I knew what I was going into when I was reading this book. I thought it was kind of gonna be like Verity, and it is like Verity in a way, but more paranormal than murder mystery. It's basically about this couple who move in. They meet at this like little venue for this wedding, and then they end up, you know, purchasing this little venue, and they spend a couple weeks there, and this person ends up being like possessed, so to say. I won't spoil too much, but it's mind-boggling. I gave it 3 stars just because it didn't leave as a lasting impact as Verity did on me. Verity was so well written. It was amazing. The fact that Colleen Hoover can write something like that is just bizarre to me. I loved it so much. Layla was pretty good too, but I would definitely say Verity over Layla. The next book that I read is also by Colleen Hoover. It's November 9th. I finally caved, and I read November 9th. I gave this book a 4-star read, and let me just say, this book fucked me up. I absolutely fell in love with the characters, especially Ben, and then of course the plot twist happens, and I'm like, I feel destroyed. I felt so destroyed after reading that book. I could not stop reading it. It was so good. I definitely recommend it. I can't talk about November 9th, especially the ending, without spoiling it. If anybody has read November 9th, DM me on Instagram because I would love to talk about it with you guys, because it is a book that had a lasting impact on me. I think about it daily. This book messed up my mind so badly, and it makes me like, it almost makes me look inwardly at the people in my life and be like, can I really trust you? Like, are you really telling me the truth? Anyways, those are all the books that I read between January and February. I also started reading Crooked Kingdom last month in February, but I haven't finished it, so I'm gonna finish it this month in March. And I will also update you guys, of course, what I'm reading in March and April, in May probably. So anyways, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you guys haven't already, and comment down below what books you've read recently and maybe a book that you are currently reading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye,
I used to take myself out on dates, open my own damn doors, pay for everything on my plate. Sometimes I'd even get the steak, cause I got it like that. Always had my own bag, never needed no man to rely on. Got two good shoulders to cry on.